to create digital marketing that really matters, it's not just about the position, it's about the message. You want to sort of focus down and niche down as much as you possibly can. The best brands spend their time really making sure that whatever it is they offer the marketplace is superior.
Hello and welcome to the Business of Architecture. I'm your host, Ryan Willard, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Elias Christeas, a man who grew up surrounded by the world of architecture, engineering, and construction. His family, parents, aunts, uncles were all in the industry. Yet, despite their natural problem-solving abilities, one challenge remained ever elusive: making their months. Why was it, he wondered, that those who could solve complex technical problems still struggled with the business side of architecture? This question set Elias on a path of discovery, one that led him to the transformative power of digital marketing. Today, he's on a mission to ensure that architects and built environment professionals never have to wonder where their next project is coming from. He's built a system for reliable, sustainable business generation, one that works so that you don't have to rely on luck. In this episode, we will discuss SEO optimization for your website. We'll look at the current and usual challenges that many architecture practices face when competing for clients in competitive markets. And we talk about creating a legacy brand for architecture firms that are more mature, who are looking for that, the next steps to creating the next generation and a lasting message.
Today's episode is sponsored by Gelt. Is your architecture firm just filing taxes or actually using them to grow the business? Gelt is your partner in optimizing your taxes so you can focus on scale. They work with you year-round, not just at tax time, taking a proactive approach that combines expert CPAs and powerful technology. From smart entity structures to overlook deductions and smarter compensation planning, Gelt helps architecture firms unlock strategies most accountants miss. And exclusively for Business of Architecture listeners, Gelt is offering 10% off your first year. Don't wait for next tax season. Schedule your complimentary consultation at joingelt.com. That's JOINGELT.com to learn more and mention BOA when you sign up. And now a word from today's sponsor. A while ago, we began to hear reports of a company that was helping some of our clients build remote teams. We looked into it more closely and discovered the company World Teams that was helping small architectural practitioners build remote teams that were both capable and qualified. We were intrigued by another business that are addressing one of the critical pain points for small architectural practices, which is the ability to grow and shrink a team effectively, to be able to handle higher workflow without having to staff up significantly, and also being very sensitive about labor cost. World Teams is built to address these issues. World Teams is a small but mighty company that helps architectural practices build high-performing remote teams quickly and efficiently, saving you the headache of sorting resumes and interviewing underqualified candidates. World Teams operates in your time zone and prioritizes near-native English speakers, ensuring clear and efficient communication with your remote team members. They have flexible contracts so you can adjust your team size as your needs evolve. Additionally, you're connected directly with your skilled professionals, which fosters trust and collaboration, and World Teams helps you reduce your operating cost without compromising the quality that's so important to a practice. To download a free guide for building a remote team for a small architectural practice, go to businessofarchitecture.com/World Teams. That's one word, businessofarchitecture.com/World Teams. As a reminder, sponsorship is not an endorsement, and you must do your own due diligence before entering into any business relationship. Go to businessofarchitecture.com/World Teams.
So, this was a great conversation. Elias has worked with some of our Business of Architecture Smart Practice clients in the past as well, and we've only heard amazing things about him. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Elias Christeas. Elias, welcome to the Business of Architecture. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me here, Ryan.
Absolute pleasure. So you are the founder of Lighthouse Digital Marketing. You guys help architects and other businesses in the AEC industry win more work, develop success strategies in terms of communications, lead generation, digital presence, online presence, website design and outreach, and all of the wonders of that encapsulates that world of of bringing in high caliber clients. So very excited to have you on the show. One of my favorite topics to always be talking about. And perhaps we can just jump straight into it. And you've worked with a number of architectural firms and helping them improve their digital presence. You've worked with one of our clients very closely, and help them get amazing results. Let's start with the problems that when you first start meeting an architect client or somebody who's kind of approaching you to work with. What are they dealing with? What are the sorts of issues that they've got in their business that would have them reach out to you?
Sure. It's an awesome question, and I suppose the $1 million question. And I find that most of the architects who find me, so a few things have happened. Either they're just curious, they've heard about digital marketing, right? Growth for their firm is on the mind. They're looking to get from wherever they're at now, usually from a revenue and workflow perspective, to the next level. So they're looking to grow. That's usually the biggest. Uh, Oftentimes, firm owners will come to me and say, I'm trying to really establish myself in my market, but the competition is just too intense.
Mhm.
I don't know how to break through that and find more of the market share that I feel like I'm capable of owning. A lot of times, and actually most recently, I'm speaking with someone now who is having a really tough time losing proposals just on marginal numbers, right? From a pricing standpoint. So price sensitivity seems to be an issue. And then also sort of zooming out a little bit, occasionally there's the firm owner who will say, okay, I've accomplished some of these things. Now I'm just looking to build myself up more of as a brand. And I'm trying to sort of establish something along the lines of legacy. I really want to be well known. I want to be known as the firm who does that. And I want to win awards and notoriety and that kind of thing.
Mhm. Let's start with the clients who's dealing with the oversaturated market or the market that's just super competitive, because this is obviously one that I'll hear a lot about no matter what part of the world that we're in. And it is the case certainly in the larger cities, is that there are so many talented architects out there, and just being able to get a segment, a piece of the market for yourself sometimes can appear really, really challenging. So when a practice approaches you with that kind of challenge, what's the first thing that you guys would start auditing or looking at, and how do you develop a strategy? And is digital marketing always the answer?
That's a really great question. And I suppose based on comfort level, there are some firm owners who might prefer to hit trade shows or, association functions, and they want to network. They want to
Uh-huh.
meet people face to face. They feel like their sort of broadcast power and sales power comes from that authentic human communication. So if it makes sense to pursue that, then of course I'm 100% behind that.
Uh-huh.
But I think, with the world being as large and as small as it is, and a firm is really just trying to break into that space in their local market, of course, SEO, search engine optimization, is one of the first things that we'll look at to see how good of a job they're doing or not, right? And so for those of you out there who might be new to what search engine optimization is, that's when we all go to our keyboard and research on Google for whatever it is we hope to find, right? So we'll start there and we'll do, um, an off the hip assessment just to sort of get a sense of where things are, and then start the dialogue to see if search engine optimization and digital marketing in general is worth investing in, if it meets their business goals. And if it does, then we go deeper and we start to look more, in depth at a strategic approach that has to do with what their niche specialty is, if they have a niche specialty, first of all, and then how that stacks up against who's kind of stopping them from really owning their share of the market.
Mhm. Well, it's interesting that you say that difference between the firm owner who perhaps has more of the personality that's extroverted or comfortable with people, and that can become a real core part of their marketing process, is actually going out, speaking, meeting people. And then the other part for the firm owner who perhaps is more introverted and is more comfortable a bit more behind the scenes, then certainly things like SEO and digital optimization become a very powerful strategy. When we're looking at something like SEO, um, I'm interested here in, like, what do you do to have a website reach the top of a search list? How do you know what people are actually searching for? Because it's all very well and good. I know that there are Google keywords and things like that, and you can kind of get a bit more sophisticated in understanding what people are looking for. But what's the sort of strategy to make sure that you're getting yourself placed in front of people who actually are searching for what you are, as opposed to you know you coming up the top of the search list for architects who make houses out of cheese, but then no one's looking for cheese houses.
I love that. And so what you're touching on there, Ryan, is actually a really important misconception, I think, that can do architects, engineers, as well as contractors more harm than good. And the misunderstanding is this. Actually, case in point, I recently spoke with somebody relatively local to where I live, and this contractor says, "No, no, I don't need you. I rank on page one of Google. I rank at the top of Google. Look." And he gave me his name and the name of the business and showed me the search engine results page and was like, "There I am." And I said, "Yes, that's wonderful. But how many potential new customers, right? You know where I'm going with this,
A searching
know
for
the
you.
name of your, right? Know the name of your business or know your name." And he just kind of went silent. I said, the art of search engine optimization is, and yes, of course, you do want to rank for your name. You do want your business to appear for what's called direct search.
Mhm.
But what's more important, especially when you're looking for new customers, is to rank for what's called relational business terms, right? So let's just say, you're an architect who specializes in sustainable architecture, right? You'll want to start to build out an SEO strategy that has to do with sustainable architecture, whether that's your design philosophy, that phrasing itself, materials that you use, your process. You want to be cognizant of all of that and then just play around, right? So take sustainable architecture and, of course, the city or town or region where you are, where you want to serve and do your work, and then just look for that. So if you want to be, or if you are a sustainable architect in the Southwest,
Mhm.
well, then you might want to look up sustainable architecture firms in New Mexico and Arizona
Mhm.
and then see who comes up, right? So you want to start with that high level assessment just to see what terms are actually being used and who comes up. And then you want to look more critically and use search engine research tools to actually build out more specific strategies that can help your website rank on the front in terms of content,
Mhm.
and then from behind the scenes in the more sort of digital, less, less flashy space, which has to do with, code and HTML and all of the rest.
Mhm. And so is it important then to have a kind of a good understanding of who your demographic is and what their problems or pains are, just so that you've got more of an understanding of the sorts of things that they're going to be typing into the keyboard when they sit down and they're frustrated with whatever the problem is that you're about to solve for them? Um, and how do you, and if that is the case, how do you establish that pain, or how do you find out about it?
It's another wonderful question. So in terms of figuring out, so I think when we're trying to solution and figure out why a firm might not be getting the business that they hope for, it's one, it's do they appear, right? Do they rank? For a lot of search engine optimization specialists, that's where they stop working. They go, "Look, you rank on page one of Google or whatever the platform is," and say, "Great, we did a job well done." But to create digital marketing that really matters, it's not just about the position. It's about the message.
Mhm.
And the best message isn't, hey, we're the best sustainable architecture firm in Arizona. Nobody really likes to do business with people who just talk about themselves. They want it to be pain point driven. So
Mhm.
if I'm a client and if I'm coming to, if I'm coming to Google to do that research, I really will jump. And the numbers show that too. People are more likely to buy from a business that understands who you are, right? We all feel that way as consumers, whether we're buying a car or a hamburger or whatever it is. We want to go to the places that tell us that they care about what it is that we do. So, or what it is that we want rather. So from that perspective, you really want to dig. And if your website starts with messaging that's like, we do this, and it's just sort of bullet points of all of these features and services, if your website's about you, chances are you're kind of off to the wrong start, right? So you really want to go back. Like if you record your sales calls, that's a great place to start.
Mhm.
Oftentimes prospects will, come to those early stage calls and say, hey, my energy bills are, and this is, super high level, but just sticking with the sustainable thing here, I'm concerned about the environment. My energy bills are so high. I really don't understand how solar might integrate. Are there cost savings? I just don't know.
Mhm.
So if you find that your prospects are saying those kinds of things over and over and over again,
Mhm.
well, then chances are for you to be successful when it comes time to give a proposal and then ultimately convert that prospect into a client, yes, your messaging needs to be about those pain points.
Mhm. Great. And that's really interesting actually, is that the kind of conversations that you actually have with your clients is the place where you can really understand where the pain points are, and you just being attentive to it. I mean, I've often said that the selling process, conversational selling, is such a good way of being able to establish a really deep understanding of where prospects and clients are at, and that it becomes really good marketing copy or headlines or things that are captivating, or they're the things that are most important to the clients. So in terms of like what does a good looking website need to have in order to be optimized on Google, for example? What sorts of things, what does it need to do? And then the other thing is, how does this play into things like paid Google ads then? Because obviously if you're paying for it, then you kind of jump your way to the top of the search. If that's the case, then how do you battle against this? Whoever's paying the most gets the highest ranking.
PPC, right? So that's pay per click,
Hmm.
and SEO. They're siblings under the parent term of SEM, which is search engine marketing, right? So
Right.
it's two major strategies. It's either SEO or PPC or
Hmm.
both. Um, I am predominantly SEO driven, and I'll get to why in just a minute. We do offer PPC, but when we do PPC campaigns, it's always seasonal in small doses and sprints. And here's why. So let's
Ah,
just keep the numbers very simple.
yeah.
Um, if anyone here has ever done keyword research, let's just say sustainable architect, or sustainable architect or sustainable architecture firm, there is a paid search value to it, right? So let's just call it $100. It's not that high, but let's just keep the number simple. So sustainable architecture firm costs $100 every time it gets a click, right?
Uh-huh.
That doesn't necessarily guarantee the lead, but you'll likely get the click if you're up there at the top when somebody types in sustainable architecture firm. So the next piece of that is your budget. Let's say you're a smaller firm, and if you're leaning into wanting to try paid search, you're thinking, okay, I need leads. I need leads right now. I don't have time for an SEO campaign to mature. I just need people calling me, customers through the door. I got $1,000 to burn. Well, okay. So you got $1,000, and sustainable architecture firm costs $100 every time someone clicks. Well, how many inquiries are you going to get? Right? There's 10.
Yeah.
10 people are going to. Now, here's where paid search might go wrong. Somebody might click on your ad that you've now paid $100 for, and maybe they're just doing a research report, right? Maybe they just want they're turning to an architect who they assume is going to be an expert in the space, and they just want some information. So say goodbye to $100 because someone's just coming to the table not ready to buy. They're just looking for information. So PPC can be effective when the ad copy is very targeted, right? Like, make no mistake about it. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is what you need. And if that ad is exciting, then whoever clicks will come to the table, hopefully, understanding that there's some sort of business engagement that is
Mhm.
about to happen. But where SEO will win from like a cost optimized marketing perspective is that those clicks are unlimited. So if you rank, of course, you have to pay for your monthly SEO engagement, but if you rank page one, position one for sustainable architecture firm in Arizona, well, then people can click that, whether they're ready to buy or ready to research or whatever it is, wherever they are in the sort of funnel of their process. They can click that as many times. They can click it 1,000 times, and there's no additional cost to you. So, PPC can be valuable when understood that it's very targeted and just in focused doses. But which one may be better? I tend to think that search engine optimization always wins the day because outside of the monthly service cost, the clicks are unlimited, your reach is
Mhm.
unlimited, and there's more value.
That's very interesting, and it would reflect a lot of kind of experiences that I know architects have had with digital marketing, where they can spend a lot of money very quickly with not a lot of return, and then they'll get burnt, and then they'll be like, I don't want to be involved in this marketing ever again. And it's often sometimes like something like what you just described, a pay-per-click type of campaign. You put an advert up, it's not very good converting, either it's not very good copy, it's not very specific, it's not very targeted. You have this situation where lots of people are just clicking on it or not, as the case might be, but if you are people clicking on it and it's not doing anything, then yeah, very quickly you've just burned through a lot of cash in a short period of time. So there's other skill sets that need to be in place, like what is the, knowing what is the most specific targeted campaign to be throwing money onto it, if you like, or pouring the gasoline onto it. And that often comes from, I would imagine it would come from, if you understand your SEO much better and you've got organic traffic and searchable traffic, you have a better understanding of what sorts of specific campaigns are going to work.
That's
Uh,
exactly right. The main takeaway there is that you're 100% correct. All keywords are not created equal.
Mhm.
In fact, I teach marketing on the side, and a conversation that was happening just a couple of days ago was about that. We were going back and forth between keywords, and I was pointing out to this agency hopeful that if you're looking to rank, then you need to focus here because that's actually where the heat is. I understand that this other keyword has to do with more of your aspirational goals as a business creative, but this is the one that's going to bring the business. Let's start here. Let's make sure you rank for that.
Oh, that's interesting. So the kind of aspirational project was one thing, but actually the ones where you can build up the financial foundation, and that makes a lot more sense to be focusing on first.
Well, 100%.
Hmm.
My criteria for a successful campaign with SEO is that, right? So you're looking for business relevance, right? So what makes a great keyword? If anyone out there is wondering, well, what do I have to do to sort of differentiate from a keyword I think might be a good idea to one that's actually going to bring me the business? You want to get as specific as possible,
Hmm.
right? So are you an architecture firm in Arizona, or are you sustainable, right? Or are
Hmm.
you modern, or whatever the case may be, right? So you want to sort of focus down and niche down as much as you possibly can.
Mhm.
Then, if you know somebody who has SEO research tools, or you can use some of the free research tools that are out there, pay attention to search volume. What does search volume mean? Search volume means that's how many people are coming to their keyboards every month to look for that,
Mhm.
right? That particular term, right? So, is your search term business relevant? Okay, awesome. First thing to check off that checklist. Next is search volume. You typically want to go, unless you're doing some other kind of campaign, typically you want to go with the keyword that owns the most search volume, right? That's more people coming to the table looking for that term per month. But then there's an interesting qualifier for a great keyword that most people miss, and that's whether or not that keyword, and the better SEO tools will show you this, is whether or not that keyword is transactional or commercial, right? Meaning Google tracks this. Google records all of its searches
Mhm.
and then follows, well, which ones are the terms that people are just looking to either navigate to for research purposes, or what terms are the ones that people are coming to their computers looking to click through and either make that call, fill out a form, send that email, or whatever the case may be. So you want those terms that are commercial and transactional in
Mhm.
nature, because that's a prospect that's
Mhm.
closer to wanting to greenlight an engagement versus somebody who's super top funnel.
Mhm.
And again, just maybe like a year out, 2 years out, trying to understand what colors work best for, you know what I mean? They're just starting to put their home together and they're less ready to
Mhm.
actually see a proposal and build.
Great. How do you see, we're kind of seeing more AI generative searches happening now on Google, and it's very difficult to avoid anything AI nowadays. Everything has got it running in the background, and it becomes interesting. I notice, when I'm searching online, and not even using something direct like Grok or ChatGPT, and Google will give me an AI overview summary of a question that I've asked, whereas before there would have been, articles or websites of professionals that would have been solving those sorts of problems. How do you see this changing kind of search landscape now for with AI generative answers, and then what people were doing previously with keywords, and then websites being shown up and articles being written? How is it evolving, and how is the digital marketing strategies kind of adapting and changing?
That's again another wonderful and really timely, important question to ask. I have a lot of feelings about
Mhm.
AI. I have quite a bit to say about it. Before I get into what I find as problems
Mhm.
using AI with SEO strategies, in general, I think people love this sort of ask and respond, right? It's almost like jazz, right? Something feels alive when you get this AIO, right? An AI overview. You
Mhm.
ask a question, and then it feels more personalized. And I think as people, especially connecting through a digital medium, we want it to feel as human, right, as possible with that personalized response. And so with generative search features now being more and more common, I think we're getting something that excites us
Mhm.
as consumers or as researchers or however it is or why ever we come to Google. Um, Now, in terms of what's happening with my clients, the one we share in particular, our SEO strategy. So, for anyone out there wondering, I am not a digital marketing firm that practices the creation of content with AI or the implementation of content or SEO with AI. It's all manual, it's all human, and there's a good reason for that. Nevertheless, our SEO strategies are helping clients appear, right? And this has changed the way I do reporting too. It's not just, hey, look, we're here, we're page one, position one for this particular search term.
Okay.
You are also taking the AIO. And by the way, in ChatGPT and other AI, chat tools as well, you do rank there as well. ChatGPT also knows who you are. It references you as the cited source for all of these queries.
Mhm.
Now, how do you do that? Well, old school SEO actually still has a place with making sure you rank on Google and then making sure you rank in generative search features. And I don't know if this is anything foreign, it's not a new topic, but if you look into creating authoritative quality content, Google actually has pretty strict guidelines. So if
Mhm.
you can create content based on your experience, based on your expertise, based on your authority in a way that's trustworthy, right? And trust as authentic expression specific to you, and you write enough of that, Google software is pretty smart. It's going to figure out that, hey, somebody just asked me this. Here's this amazing answer to that query. I'm going to give that content. And I don't think you need AI to necessarily generate that content for you.
I mean, and it's interesting, and it's again, the generative search functions that we see now. It's almost like you're not asking for AI, you're not asking for an AI response, but Google gives it to you anyway. And I wonder about the because sometimes when I'm searching for stuff online, I have to deliberately ask for ChatGPT or whether it's Google. Where did you get this information from? Give me the original sources, because it likes to just sort of, you know, compile this mishmash of an answer. And 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 again, I find that I can imagine in the not too distant future that we're going to be moving towards a more of an, perhaps like an audio platform, the way that where the interface between search engines will become audio based, and that we'll be speaking to an AI and asking it a question of like, I'm trying to figure out, you know, and I can imagine that a lot of prospective architectural clients are in that different phase of readiness to purchase, like you were just illustrating. You've got people who are thinking about colors, and you've got people who are a little bit more further down the stream, and they actually know that they need to have an architect. And actually, that's quite, in a way, that's kind of a bit rare that people even that they even know that they need to have an architect. Um, and that kind of pre-education part can be quite important to capture as an audience, and then kind of mature them through another kind of digital marketing um, strategy. And then, moving into the world of audio interface, where you might be asking a question to AI, and previously, if you were just searching something in, you might have found an article written by an architect and then subscribed to their newsletter, and kind of now you're in a funnel and the architect doesn't have to do anything. Now I can imagine running the risk of, AI just answers it for you, and there isn't that exchange of
Well,
a professional, or am I overthinking this, or is there another way to think about this?
you know, when when we look at what Google is,
I've gone into
I
a bit of a
can't.
rabbit hole there, Elias. I apologize.
No, it is, and let's no, let's jump down, let's grab Alice, by the hand and go for it. So what is Google? It is I can't think of a better example at the moment other than Google, where it is the center. It's information technology,
Mhm.
right? That's what it is. We use it as the ultimate research tool, whereas libraries were once, the place where everybody went for information. Now people are going, to Google. In terms of losing, because someone might get an answer from, an AI feature versus clicking through to find the architect or the contractor or whoever it is that might be the expert in that space. So now my old sales manager hat is
Mhm.
on, and I'm thinking potential clients. I don't know, right? And when I think about my portfolio of clients, I
Mhm.
know that they all want people who are closer
Right.
to making the purchase than
Mhm.
that sort of like long game educational based marketing. They're really looking for to have that conversation, whether somebody's ready to start in a couple of weeks or
Mhm.
a couple of months or whatever it is. I almost think, and I think maybe I'm realizing this for the first time, that kind of distance, that sort of AI filter, well, maybe the AI is filtering out the super high funnel buyer from the buyer who is more low funnel, mid to low funnel, ready to go, right? So somebody's just looking for information and they want it to just be easy. Clicking an article is just way too hard. So they use voice search or whatever, Hey Siri or whatever it is to get to their answer. And then the AIO comes back with that response. Well, great. That person who's just looking for information, most of the people that I work with wouldn't necessarily want to speak to that person just yet.
Uh-huh.
Who they do want to speak to is the person who will maybe conduct voice search. Hey, who does, who builds, who designs, whatever it is. They'll see the AIO, they'll say, that's cute. And then they'll want to get to the bottom of it. They'll look for the source. They'll see what, 3 to 4 businesses have been referenced to create that answer. Or they might blow by the AIO altogether, the way people would sometimes blow by AIO's predecessor, which was the rich snippet, right? So they'll just scroll right past that, see who comes up first, and then click through, just because there's more of an earnestness there. There's more of a commitment to find the person who does offer that. So I don't know. I think it's a very interesting question. I never really looked at it that way, but now it's just sort of brainstorming and thinking about it out loud.
Yeah, I guess we could kind of see that AI then is acting like a qualifier for us, and actually, yeah, it kind of starts to separate the clients who are more ready, and I mean, that's more valuable to get that kind of person, or it's more immediate anyway, to get that kind of person into your funnel. I want to go back to the different types of clients that you were saying that you often meet, and talk about on the other side here, the client who's interested in legacy and brand. And again, this is something, at the moment is really interesting. So many, this is big transfer of wealth that everyone's talking about. And, in architecture, what does that mean? Well, it often means that, older practice owners are starting their transition plans, they're looking for succession, and legacy becomes a big part of that. Or there's a new, leadership that's taking over a firm, and they want to make their mark or create their personality or stamp or voice or whatever, onto the organization. What do you do with those sorts of companies that are interested in brand and legacy? Like, how would you describe brand for starters?
That's you're packed with amazing questions, which is all, you're hitting all of the awesome, important marketing questions right square on the head. And in terms of what is a brand, and as a marketer, I've wrestled with so many different versions of that answer. And you ask 1,000 marketers, you're going to get 1,000 different answers. And I think that the current, right, as of the recording of this episode, a brand is an organization that we choose to do business with, either because of the quality of the product or because of the quality of their ideals. And in a perfect world, it's both, right? The best brands, it's a wonderful product, and man, their ideology, their value system, that's really on par with who I am. And that's why I'll choose this brand over that brand every single day of the week. So the best brands spend their time really making sure that whatever it is they offer the marketplace is superior. It's world class. And I think from a legacy perspective, that's the most important piece. People want to know that, when they walk away. And in fact, I was having a conversation with a healthcare architect, now retired, just a couple days ago. It is that they want to be known for this. When they look over their shoulder and they're like, man, this is what I was doing the last 40 years or more of my life. Like, did it matter? Right? Will people remember? Did I move the industry forward somehow, or wherever an architect finds himself working? So when it comes to the legacy piece, I find that actually SEO is still important, because now we're not thinking about SEO for leads, right? We're not just lead gen. I need clients through the door. We can take a breath. We've been there, done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now let's focus on, well, the aspirational stuff, the stuff
Mhm.
that has real depth and real meaning. Well, as it turns out, you can make that rank as well. You know,
Mhm.
who built the best hospitals in the 21st century? Let's just say that's a search, right? That would be something you'd want to own. And are there downstream business benefits that come from appearing for a search like that? Or is it just I own that space because I just need to? I'll sleep better at night knowing that that's something that belongs to me.
Mhm.
Then we can do that. So
How does SEO, what does a digital marketing strategy look like for an organization that is interested in establishing their legacy? Right.
so so you will transition from the lead gen machine, which is sort of like where most of my clients are. Everybody's trying to break in and be competitive in their space and have perfect fit clients coming through the door.
Mhm.
Transitioning to legacy, you really want your digital assets to be, again, world class, to be as beautiful as possible. And you want, right? So, this idea of legacy, of who I am, and almost like just that signature visceral feeling that you want to be remembered for, well,
Mhm.
then we look at what we're really into website design. And whereas from a lead gen perspective, we might push away aesthetic considerations because there's more important needs, we'll reverse now and we'll say, well, we've kind of done the SEO thing. This website has enough weight
Mhm.
to rank. Otherwise, let's spend more time and figure out where we can get in, animations on the website. How can we make this website right? How can we sort of create a visceral experience that pairs with that brand messaging they want to leave behind, that they
Mhm.
want the world to remember? Another wonderful way to do that is one through the website, yes, and now an emerging platform that's about to surpass Facebook, because it was previously Google, Facebook, and then everybody else. Coming up behind now is YouTube.
Mm.
Video is a wonderful way to make sure legacy is memorialized, still with business benefits, but
Mhm.
for all time. And there are so many different ways that, a firm can create content on YouTube, whether, it's virtual walkthroughs or, live sketching or just Q&As, things like this, where a founder is just passing on wisdom and
Mhm.
passion, whether it's to other architects who may engage with it or to, potential prospects once they've moved on. Video is really becoming a great place to leverage all of that.
So really, uh, part of that legacy brand, now we're looking at more of a content-based strategy where you're producing your own content or having other people speak about you. You gave that interesting example there of like of being of being optimized where what were the top 20 best hospitals built in the last 50 years or so. Would that be something which is your own content that's being produced, or would it be something which is part of a PR campaign to be written about, or both?
All of it, for sure. You'd certainly want something to say about that in your own voice. And then, yes, whatever the digital media sources that could support that, you'd want to make sure that there's as much media out there, about you
Mhm.
on those channels as possible.
Let's talk a little bit about just websites in general. And you've, like myself, have probably seen thousands of architecture websites over the years. Um, and always a great question is what works, what doesn't work, and what do you? And we'll start with what doesn't work and the kind of common pitfalls or challenges that you'll see architecture firms or businesses in the AEC world making.
I think an important thing for any business owner to remember, architects, engineers, and builders, is jargon. It's the
Mhm,
trap of jargon.
mhm,
I'm a marketer, right? So it could be so easy for me to create a website about digital marketing, right, as a service in digital marketing speak.
mhm,
But if you go to my website, it's not that there's no digital marketing jargon on there almost at all. And
mhm,
I've tried very hard to do that. And why? Because I believe that the best websites speak less about the business per se and more about the clients in a language that the client will understand. So what works, what doesn't. If you're out there and you're listening to this and you're going to, after this episode, you're going to scrutinize and review your website, you'll really want to assess, look for the traps. And it's all honest mistakes. It's not like shame on you for talking about what you know best, but just use that as a moment to reflect and pause and say, well, okay, this is what I've done a great job of listing sort of my features and benefits, right, as a service provider. But now, how would a potential client receive that? Would they even understand that? And that goes back to the point that you made earlier, starting with client pain points, starting with client wants and needs. Does your language focus on that?
Mhm.
And so I think what works well, the website that's really built for the prospect, the one who is entering the business's funnel, the more you can make it about the prospect, the better. So that's on the surface. Then, from an SEO perspective, of course, what works well, what doesn't. The quick and most important answer to that is: do you rank? Do you appear for the search terms that are going to bring you the business,
Mhm.
right? And again, and for anyone who wants to maybe try keyword research themselves, I think one of the better free keyword research tools out there right now is WordStream. That gives you enough. Don't think it gives you intent data, and intent meaning like is somebody going to research or is somebody ready to buy. But what it will do is at least show you enough search volume. And that should be enough for you to understand, like, well, okay, the architect who builds homes out of Swiss cheese versus the architect who builds homes out of Gouda, right? Which one is going to be better for me to choose for my firm? So using the data to create that content, that's going to be big.
mhm,
Um, Another wonderful free tool that anyone out there can use is SEO Meta One Click. That's a Chrome extension that it talk about rabbit holes. You can dive deep and actually use it as a pretty powerful SEO tool, but you can quickly look at your website structurally, right? So there's the facade, there's the messaging, there's the pictures, there's the animations, there's what your prospects see. But behind that, the foundation of your website, it can show you whether or not Google also likes your website. Google will, right? Because what do we build websites for? We build it for people, of course, but we also build it for search software if we're clever about it. So that way Google says, yep, this is the firm that does the thing, and I'm going to make sure that they appear and they rank. So SEO Meta One Click can show you if, from a technical perspective, you've organized your site the way that it needs to be so that it's compliant to search software responsible for ranking your site in the first place.
Mhm.
So what works, what doesn't, it's got to you do need to have a beautiful site. You do need to speak in a message that the customer will or the prospect will appreciate, that means the most to them. And then from a technical perspective, of course, there's the SEO, and that's data tools that are going to give you the words that matter. And then also some other unsung hero tools that will show you from a foundational perspective what works, what doesn't, so that way that you can rank.
amazing, brilliant. I think that's a good place for us to conclude. I know we kind of scratched the surface there, but that was such an
Yeah.
interesting dive into digital marketing strategies for architecture firms. And if there are people listening to this who'd be interested in improving their SEO, lead generation, bringing in more of the right kinds of clients, and they want to use a digital marketing strategy, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Um, If you looked up architecture firm marketing agency, as it turns out, I do rank at the moment for number one on Google nationally. So you can't help but find me for the business terms that are most relevant to me. But lighthouse-digitalmarketing.com is my website. And then info at lighthouse-digitalmarketing.com will start the conversation. And I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Amazing. We'll put all that information into the information in the podcast here.
Cool.
Elias, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed that conversation, and I'm sure we might have you back on the show again. I know we were talking previously about doing a case study with our shared client. That could be a really nice conversation to follow up with as well at some point. So thank you so much. Really enjoyed speaking with you.
Likewise, Ryan. Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap.
Hey, Enoch Sears here, and I have a request. Since you are a listener here of the Business of Architecture podcast, Ryan and I, we love putting this podcast together. We love sharing information as much as we can glean from all the other industries that we're a part of to bring it back to empower you as an architect and a designer. And one thing that helps us in our mission is the growth of this podcast, simply because it helps other architects stand for more of their value, spreads the business information that we're sharing to empower architects together so architects, designers, engineers can really step into their greatness, whatever that looks like for each individual. And so here my simple ask is for you to join us and be part of our community by doing the following: heading over to iTunes and leaving a review of the podcast. And as an expression of our sincere thanks, we would like to give you a free CEU course that can get you one professional development unit, but more importantly, will give you a very solid and firm foundation on your journey to becoming a profitable and thriving architect. So here's the process for that. After you leave us a review, send an email to support@businessofarchitecture.com. Let us know the username that you use to leave the review, and we will send you that free training. On the training, you'll discover what 99% of architecture firm owners wish they would have known 20 years ago.
Today's episode is sponsored by Gelt. Is your architecture firm just filing taxes or actually using them to grow the business? Gelt is your partner in optimizing your taxes so you can focus on scale. They work with you year-round, not just at tax time, taking a proactive approach that combines expert CPAs and powerful technology. From smart entity structures to overlook deductions and smarter compensation planning, Gelt helps architecture firms unlock strategies most accountants miss. And exclusively for Business of Architecture listeners, Gelt is offering 10% off your first year. Don't wait for next tax season. Schedule your complimentary consultation at joingelt.com. That's joingelt.com to learn more and mention BOA when you sign up. And now a word from today's sponsor. A while ago, we began to hear reports of a company that was helping some of our clients build remote teams. We looked into it more closely and discovered the company World Teams that was helping small architectural practitioners build remote teams that were both capable and qualified. We were intrigued by another business that are addressing one of the critical pain points for small architectural practices, which is the ability to grow and shrink a team effectively, to be able to handle higher workflow without having to staff up significantly, and also being very sensitive about labor cost. World Teams is built to address these issues. World Teams is a small but mighty company that helps architectural practices build high-performing remote teams quickly and efficiently, saving you the headache of sorting resumes and interviewing underqualified candidates. World Teams operates in your time zone and prioritizes near-native English speakers, ensuring clear and efficient communication with your remote team members. They have flexible contracts so you can adjust your team size as your needs evolve. Additionally, you're connected directly with your skilled professionals, which fosters trust and collaboration, and World Teams helps you reduce your operating cost without compromising the quality that's so important to a practice. To download a free guide for building a remote team for a small architectural practice, go to businessofarchitecture.com/World Teams. That's one word, businessofarchitecture.com/World Teams. As a reminder, sponsorship is not an endorsement, and you must do your own due diligence before entering into any business relationship. Go to businessofarchitecture.com/World Teams.
This episode is sponsored by Smart Practice, Business of Architecture's flagship program to help you structure your firm for freedom, fulfillment, and financial profit. If you want access for our free training on how to do this, please visit smartpracticemethod.com. Or if you want to speak directly to one of our advisors about how he might be able to help you, please follow the link in the information. The views expressed on this show by my guests do not represent those of the host, and I make no representation, promise, guarantee, pledge, warranty, contract bond, or commitment except to help you be unstoppable.